What's going on, guys? Keith back in the house. Wanted to talk to you today about why chasing pleasure will leave you broken and your life will be in complete shambles if you do this. Before we get started, I made this channel to help men create their ideal lives through self-mastery. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos, because I put out new videos every single day. So let's get into this topic, talking about why pleasure will ruin your life. It will leave you broken. Now, I'm not saying don't go have fun, don't do pleasurable things, but if you look around at our society these days, everyone is pursuing pleasure. And what else do you notice about our society is more and more people spend more time complaining. They spend more time depressed and anxious and unhappy, and just generally everything about their life they seem dissatisfied with. And yet we've got video games that are more and more realistic by the year. Drugs seem like they're more available. It seems like half the population is stoned all day. Alcohol, we got vapes now. Your jobs are getting easier and easier. The phone does all the stuff for you. We've got binge watching Netflix. We got all this pleasure at our fingertips, and yet nobody's happy, and it gets worse and worse. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, the more I disconnect from pleasure, the happier I get. Honestly, and it's not a happiness like a childlike excitement. It's a happiness like just an overall sense of feeling good about life. I just feel better about myself. And my personal belief, and I get this from people like Jordan Peterson was a big influence for me on this topic, is that responsibility is the thing you need, because responsibility for things leads to meaning in your life, and that meaning will stave off all the negative emotions that you feel. But just look around, honestly, ask yourself if the things that you do that are pleasurable, if they ever lead to anything long-term positive in your life. Getting drunk, watching porn, or even just casual sex. Casual sex is a pleasure-seeking thing, whereas a long-term relationship, trying to build something for the future with somebody, that's more of a responsibility thing, and you get pleasure out of it, but it's a responsibility situation. And like I said, I'm not saying don't have pleasure in your life, don't go out, but the constant pursuit of pleasure, which seems to be the new driver in our society, it's killing people. It's ruining lives out here. The historian Will Durant said that a society is born Stoic and dies Epicurean. And Stoicism is the philosophy. It's popular with self-development people. Stoicism is about duty, responsibility, focusing what you can control. It's a philosophy for dealing with high stress situations, whereas Epicureanism believed that the ultimate objective was to seek pleasure in life, and that you should find pleasure as the highest good, and that's what you should be out after in life. And so what Will Durant's point was that the more a society focuses on pleasure rather than duty and responsibility, it quickly starts to decline. And you can look at like the Roman Empire, for example. The Roman Empire was around for like 1,000 years, and it was dominating the world. But you hear about these emperors that were around ruling the empire towards the end of the empire's reign, and you hear about how they were like completely deplorable people, right? Like I know there was one guy, he was just having mass orgies in the emperor's palace. He had just all kinds of just crazy stuff, like just sexual impurity, just drunkenness. He was taking all the people's money and spending it, on just cheap things. When pleasure starts to take over your life, you start to lose track of responsibility. And the irony is that pleasure, it just makes you unhappy, because deep down it had no long-term value. And as a species, we've spent the last 2 million years, and like 500,000 as the modern human, figuring out how to survive in this world. And we've done that by putting the short-term pleasure aside for the long-term gain, right? Like our societies are all built on long-term gain. This is ingrained in your brain. So if you're out here chasing pleasures all day, you're going to end up feeling a sense of meaninglessness, and that sense of meaninglessness is the thing that leads to the unhappiness, the anxiety, the despair, the depression, all that stuff. Because if you don't have any sense of why you should be living in this world, well, you can't ignore all the bad stuff in the world. Like there's going to be coronavirus pandemics and hurricanes and murders and all this awful stuff going on. And if you don't have any meaning to go against that, you're going to be miserable. So it's very important that you make meaning what you pursue and pleasure just something that comes along with that. Because I get, and everybody out there who does chase meaning gets pleasure out of the meaning. It's a different feeling of pleasure. It's less impulsive, but you still get pleasure out of it, and you get pleasure out of achievement, and you still spend time doing pleasurable things. Like, it's not like I don't go on vacations or don't drink sometimes, but it's not the thing I'm after. I don't wake up in the morning thinking about where can I get some pleasure today. I wake up and say, what meaningful things do I have to take responsibility for today so that I can improve my life and move forward in the world? And that question makes me feel good during the day. So I really recommend you do that. Another thing that comes along with this is that pleasure is oftentimes it's addictive, and pursuing it to me shows a real sign of weakness, because it means that you don't have any mental toughness, because everyone knows that, like, getting drunk, for example, is not productive. It's never productive. So if you're waking up and you're pursuing the idea of drunkenness, that's a sign of weakness to me, because you couldn't take responsibility for your life. Things that require responsibility require strength, like building the body, building a business, having a real relationship rather than running out and just having cheap flings and moving on to the next person. So these things like meaning and responsibility require strength, and they build character, whereas pleasure does the opposite. It tears down your character, it erodes you as a man. And men in particular, we have got to start pursuing meaning and responsibility, because this world really needs some serious, strong men leading it again. And most men have completely fallen apart. You look at most men, we're playing video games and getting stoned all day and letting society tell us what we should do with our lives. And it's not entirely our fault, but it's the hand we've been dealt, and it's time to take action for it. It's time to stop chasing pleasure, start pursuing meaningful things in our life and accomplishing things. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll walk around with your chest out because you'll know you're worth a damn in the world instead of being completely controlled by your impulses. And then you can help make the world a better place. And I can't think of anything more important that you could do with your life than to push the world in a better direction. All right, guys, that's all I got for this video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a like. It really helps me out in the algorithm so I can reach more guys with my message. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. I'm going to put another video right here that I think you might like, and I'll see you tomorrow.